Testing. Maybe we're recording?
Maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I see that.
All right, well, welcome to the first episode of Dayton's Couch. I'm your host, Noah, and with me, as always, my co-host.
John.
Yeah.
Just John.
Yeah, just John. So yeah, we used to be stars on an old podcast. Some of y'all might have heard of it. Some of y'all may have listened to it. Some of y'all probably hated it. It was called A Distinguished Conversation. But we're back and we're better than ever. And this time, I wouldn't say it's structured, but I took notes. So, yeah. How are you doing today, John?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Let's see. One of the new structured segments that I'm trying to do in the show is what are we doing this week? Whether it's like a show we're watching, a game we're playing, book we're reading, if you're into that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah. Who reads books nowadays?
My boss. Shout out to my boss. She reads books and likes plants, and we'll probably have her on the show sometime just to hear a rant about the world.
That sounds interesting.
Oh yeah. So what you been up to?
School, work. Same things that I've been up to for quite a while.
Fair enough. Makes for really interesting listening.
Yeah, I bet everyone wants to hear about all of the deliveries that I do.
Yeah, it do be that way.
All the assignments that I turn in late.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, hey, as I remember from orientation day of college, C's get degrees. That's where we're at in America now. So
I guess so.
Unless
you're in nursing, then you have to get like 150% to pass.
Well, that's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that being said, I've been good. I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals lately.
Yeah. I noticed.
Yeah. That's been kind of the one game that I've been playing because I can kind of just turn off my brain and play it. I don't have to think too much about it. As for, I guess shows I've been watching, I started Modern Family again. That's been pretty good. And then, yeah, same old, just going to work and sleeping and yeah. Trying to think. You want to start over again?
If you want.
Oh, shizzle. Well, let's get to the main topic. We're going to start talking about movies. That's one thing that I felt like the last one kind of lacked some kind of main topic, a main narrative. And I feel like us talking about movies gives us that narrative, that thing to really dish on about.
Yeah. And
what better movie franchise to go through than the behemoth that is the MCU? Let's see. It started in 2008 with Iron Man and has recently gone downhill with the latest release being Captain America. He's Captain America Brave New World. I was trying to remember what it was actually called. It was
Hulk, 4?
Yeah.
Without the Hulk.
Pretty much. He was just this Hulk movie. Well, because... would it be 4 or I don't know? Thor Ragnarok was kind of like a half Hulk sequel kind of thing, and they tried to shoehorn that he couldn't control the Hulk anymore in an Age of Ultron, and that made no sense. So yeah, I guess like Hulk 3 or 4, but without the Hulk. Any hoozles, we watched 2008, the 2008 blockbuster Iron Man, and what were your initial thoughts after watching that for the first time in God knows how long?
It's still a pretty good movie. I still really enjoyed it, and I remember liking it back in the day. It's still really good. Robert Downey Jr. gives an amazing performance as Tony Stark. And then all the other actors in the movie do a great job. Gwyneth Paltrow. Who else?
Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Terrence Howard. which I liked him as Rhodey. So I took some notes. Great opening, very tense, has stakes. That's something that I don't think I've quite felt in an MCU movie since probably like Endgame, or maybe even, yeah, I think Endgame was the last one where I was like, I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen. I was on the edge of my seat, and everything since then has just been this steady decline of monotony. But
Yeah.
I felt like from the opening scene where they're in the convoy, there was a sense of urgency, and there was the sense of he could die here.
Yeah.
When he's been captured, and even like just kind of the way they cut back from there to here's Tony Stark, here's the playboy, the billionaire, the like, even he's a genius, and you know they showcase that with the what was it, the various pictures where it's clearly somebody photoshopped into
Yeah.
these period pictures. And I know there's one where he's like a child and it just looks very bad, and there's one with like young Robert Downey Jr. photoshopped next to the little robot arm thing he has.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked that it just kind of showed it set the tone very nicely. And there was that nice reference to the original 60s Iron Man show. The theme song's playing at the casino,
Yeah.
and that's like the little phone ringer. Let's see. But yeah, it's just kind of nice to return to something that was simple. It wasn't the end of the world. It was just a couple of convoys and a couple of explosions, and that was enough to actually have some tension, rather than like now where it's like, unless it's the end of the world and I don't know, like Thanos comes back and you know there's some crossover from something else, it's just like whatever. Jarvis was a thing.
Yeah.
I miss Jarvis. He like, I don't feel like the new AIs that he had just kind of bickered back and forth with him. That was nice. One supporting cast member, Paul Bettany's Jarvis, that I genuinely enjoyed.
Yeah. I kind of forgot how much Jarvis just kind of gives some witty banter and like almost has a little bit of like sassiness towards Tony Stark. So it was very much, I was very happy to like kind of go back to, you know, before Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
When that was something that existed.
Yeah. I don't think this movie could be made today. After kind of watching the opening sequence where they're just like, they call them the 10 rings, but really like I was like, this is actually kind of political.
Yeah.
Terrorism is just it's a thing in there, and I don't think that they would even dare trying to make that movie today.
At least not Marvel.
Yeah. They because I think in Shang-Chi they revert the 10 rings back to like, oh, it's this mystical martial arts kind of, there are actual 10 rings and they each have power and whatever. And when I was doing some research on the original like script for this movie, they wanted to do the Mandarin, but it was just kind of too far-fetched, or so they thought. I guess the ending action sequence was supposed to be the Mandarin drilling under Stark Industries to like steal his technology, and they're like, nah, that's not realistic. We'll just have Jeff Bridges in a big robot suit. That'll be much better. But yeah, another thing that I genuinely missed and loved about this movie was the suit reveals. Like every single suit just kind of, it was unique. Everyone felt like it was a better suit than the last one.
Yeah.
Especially the leap from the Mark 1 to the Mark 2, but just that initial reveal of the Mark 1 where like it's almost shot like a horror film.
Yeah.
As he's chasing the guys in the cave.
I was actually thinking about that when we were watching. I was like, man, this is like if we were supposed to be from like the terrorists' perspective, like this would be a horror movie.
Yeah. He's a force to be reckoned with in that scene. The way that like you hear the footsteps and the camera shakes, and then like when it lights up, and initially when the guy he's inspecting and he doesn't see Tony, and just the initial light up, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And then when he comes out into the day, like the daylight, and he just sets everything ablaze, and just that initial reveal of the suit, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And I genuinely don't remember the last time that we had a suit reveal like that. I think it was like maybe the Mark 7 in Avengers. But like then we go to the Mark 2, and the way that one's just kind of a bare bones Iron Man suit. It doesn't even have the weapons in there. It is literally just a flight suit.
Yeah.
And it pans and it shows every single like little niche detail and the bolts and everything. And when we get to the Mark 3 suit up reveal, like I loved how it shows he's literally getting sealed into that thing. And there's like a deleted scene where he's like getting undressed. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but like Pepper walks in on him, and like it's trying to take the suit off, and he's like trying to go to the bathroom. Like it's just this, I noticed there were little bolts and there were things on there that like they were drilling him into the suit, and it's not something that the later suits where they kind of just form around him, or it's nanotech or whatever. It's like an actual shell, and he has to be put in there, and it's not something he just gets out of easily. Like it's kind of clunky, and there's some exaggerated or like large body parts and stuff on there.
Well, there's the scene that's in the movie that's it was after the first time he goes out to the Middle East, and he comes back, and Pepper Potts walks in on him. And all that happens. He has to he's like pulling the pieces of the suit off of him. I just think I really enjoy a lot of those details of this is as new to him as it is, to us, the audience. He has no idea how to use the suit. He's learning along the way.
I got we'll finish your thought, but
he's learning to use the suit, and like you actually see a lot of that struggle for him. And I feel like in a lot of newer movies, it's just kind of like that's the first 10 minutes of the movie, and then all of a sudden the character is like really good at what they're supposed to be doing and stuff. There isn't that build up to that big reveal of what the character can really do with their ability or powers or whatever.
I have a note on that. When he starts off just trying to learn how to fly, and he does the 10% thrust capacity, which should have killed him. But just the way that he's like, all right, we'll just try 10%. He thinks that's a small enough number, and he just flies into the wall. Yeah. Just little things like that. And even when he lands for the first time, he's just like, all right, cut power. And he just flies through the ceiling, which I don't know how that works, because I want to see every landing since then and see, hey, he should be going through the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of that where, specifically in the Mark II flight, he when he's flying and he goes up to the high altitude, and the suit starts freezing, and he just has to figure it out right then and there, and then that plays a major role into later on in the film, which I'll circle back to that. But yeah, there's development of him as a hero, and when he goes to oh shoot, I should have Gomera, I think is where it is. It's somewhere in Nepal. But when he flies over there, and then he just gets shot out of the sky with by the tank.
Yeah.
And then he just shoots a missile on it, or at it, and just him walking away. It's a great shot.
Yeah, though I'd love. I wish we could have met the guy that operated that tank, because to shoot a such a fast moving
Yeah,
small object out of the sky with a tank, that's got to be a pretty amazing
that guy,
feat.
that guy has a great shot.
Yeah.
Man, the world lost an incredible marksman that day.
That was gonna be Hawkeye before they
That was a slight Hawkeye cameo
yeah.
back when he was a terrorist.
Yeah, that was his origin story
I mean, in some
before he
versions,
just like shows up in Avengers.
I mean, in some versions, he is kind of like a. I think in most versions, he's kind of like a thief or like some kind of trained assassin or like crook or just a bad bloke before he ends up working for Shield. And you're not supposed to eat that, Ozai. Sorry, the cat is being devious right now. Stop it! Stop it! I said stop it. He's not gonna listen to me. But yeah. Let me see. When he does come back, and after he's had the betrayal of Jeff Bridges, who was the bad guy all along, and we never saw that one coming. The fight scene between him and Ironmonger. I guess I never realized this, but like this recent watch through, like throughout most of that fight, he only has like 10% in the suit. Like, that was something that I hasn't.
You never see in the first movie really Iron Man fighting with his full potential, except for that like really short scene.
Yeah.
After he gets shot down by the tank.
Yeah, like the full potential was probably the dogfight. And great scene. Like as a whole, the action set pieces in this in the film are just they're brilliant. Like it show like flight is a major part of the character, so they lean into that. Like the initial scene where he's flying, it's not even like a crazy fight or anything. It's just him flying around and having a good time, and it's fun. And then the dogfight when he's just hanging onto the side of the plane, and then when he saves the pilot, it's just little things that a superhero would do. This he would try and save the guy. But when he's fighting Ironmonger, this is something that hasn't really ever been a problem in the later films, and to good effect, because I mean he seems. One of the things I've really enjoyed about him in the MCU is that he always improves upon the last suit. So whatever problem or flaw that was in the Mark II, the Mark III fixes that. If there's a flaw in like the Mark III, and I was kind of looking into this a little bit, when you look at the Mark IV and the Mark III, there aren't major improvements, but it's a lot slimmer and it's not as clunky. But like the battery, like him having to worry about the battery, that was something that I don't think, like his arc reactor, the initial one, wasn't meant to power that suit. And that's like this nice bit of tension without like being world ending. It's just he's struggling. His phone is about to die and he has to like make a few calls and whatever. But like he flies there and then he uses the unibeam, and then Jarvis is just like, dude, you're running out of power. We're at 17%, 15. And he's like, just keep it on the screen.
Yeah.
And then when they fly up high, this was actually something. So the initial film had to go through some reshoots, and that was one of them because they were like, it's just two robots punching at each other.
Yeah.
And so they hired two of the writers to come back because most everyone had taken off time, and there was the writer strike and everything.
Yeah.
And the two that came back, one of them said, what if we circle back and remember the part where he freezes up in the atmosphere? What if we make that a major part of this fight scene? And they weren't going to do it, but they were running out of options. And apparently that scene where the two of them fly up costs like $6 million. And I think to great effect, because that's just, it shows that like he had the upper hand on Obadiah Stane. and it was him learning from his mistakes, but it was something that he didn't know about, and the only reason he knew about this, he's had time to actually play around with the suit and learn those problems.
Yeah.
But like just him running out of power, I can't think of another Marvel movie, at least in recent years, where they're just fighting with that. They're fighting with themselves while having that fight, or kind of similar to like Spider-Man 2 in the train sequence where like he's trying to save the people more than he's actually trying to beat the crap out of Doc Ock, but just those little things.
Yeah.
And like at one point when his mask catches on fire, he just has to take it off because but why am I talking about Spider-Man 2? That's a great film. But yeah, as for the end of that fight scene, I think that was the first time. That was the first time that Marvel used a blue sky beam, but I'm trying to think of a movie before that used blue sky beams. I think this is the one that started popularizing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily a blue sky beam, but I mean, there's the beam that comes down in Independence Day.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah. But yeah. As for the production of the film, it actually started all the way back in the early 90s.
Really?
So yeah. In 1990, where was it? Yeah, I think it was in 1990. The rights went to Universal, and in 96 they went to Fox. In 97 they were going to do a film with Nick Cage as Iron Man. In 98 it was Tom Cruise, and that script was written by Jeff Vintar and Stan Lee, and they wanted MODOK as the villain. Could you imagine just a giant face, but in 1998?
Yeah.
That would be terrifying. Would they have done CGI? Like, I don't know. The one that we got a couple years back wasn't great, but I mean, what do you like? A giant face is just kind of hard to make.
Yeah.
This one I found really fun. In 1999, Quentin Tarantino was set to write and direct an Iron Man film, and the rights went to New Line Cinema. Could you imagine a Tarantino film?
We would have had an R-rated Iron Man film with a bunch of blood and gore.
Could you imagine it? And he'd be banging chicks left and right.
Yeah, and there'd be like toes in the screen at all times.
the Iron Man suit would have toes. I just imagine he's in this gold suit, and then there's like he's like blasting everybody, and the blood stains is where he gets the red. He's like, "Hey, this is pretty cool."
The face opens up, and he has like a cigar in his mouth.
Yeah. Oh God, and when I looked into this, I don't even think they had like a choice for casting Iron Man. Could you imagine Tom Selleck? I say let's give him another chance. It was in the year 2000. New Line Cinema had written had a version. It was written by Ted Elliott, Terry Rossio, and Tim Canleys, who is the guy behind the Iron Giant script. So I recognize one of those names. And the script had a cameo from Nick Fury and was setting up a Nick Fury movie. So they weren't even like done making an Iron Man movie before they were trying to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And
so they were planning a Nick Fury movie?
Yeah. Because, everyone...
I bet they took that script, and that's when they made Captain Marvel, because...
Pretty much.
That's what Captain Marvel was. It was a Nick Fury movie with a 30-minute cameo from Captain Marvel.
Yeah. That film went through so many different rewrites, and at one point included the Mandarin, and it just went through development hell and never happened. And it wasn't until November of 2005 when Marvel Studios, with Paramount as the production company, they started getting the ball rolling again, and they went through 30 different writers, like 30 different people just didn't want anything to do with it, and the main reason was due to the obscurity of the character. So, fun fact about Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, these were the B team. The Avengers were never like the main guys. And when you go back to like why Marvel sold off the rights to Spider-Man, Wolverine, and the X-Men and the Hulk, those were the characters. Those were their star players. And so they were just kind of stuck with all these these B characters, and they were like, well, I guess Iron Man, people kind of like him, but he was a fairly obscure character. And so the early ideas of that script had references to Spider-Man 2's Doc Ock. They had focus groups to develop, like they had these focus groups to try and get more of like a brand outreach for Iron Man, and they developed these short films called Iron Man advertorials to kind of boost awareness of the character. And then it was in, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. It was in 2006 when Jon Favreau was hired, and then the rest is pretty much history.
Yeah.
He actually wanted Avi Arad to help produce because he had worked with him on the set of Daredevil, and he wanted to tell a story about Tony Stark reinventing himself and learning that the world is a lot more of a complicated place. He considered it politically ambitious, and he wanted to actually do kind of like a spy thriller. Like he cited James Bond and like Tom Clancy as like kind of references for what he wanted. And like after watching it, there's some hints of politics in there. And he considered it more of like an independent film rather than like a comic book movie. So I guess that worked out.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because, like, I bet you if you actually like totaled up the amount of minutes that actual like Iron Man in the red and yellow suit is on screen versus not, it's probably what, like
5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, like probably not that little, but like 15 minutes compared to the rest of the entire movie. Yeah, it was not what today we would consider a comic book movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like he didn't really see it as like this comic book movie, but he did consult a lot of comic book writers actually. They had Mark Millar, Brian Michael Bendis, Joe Quesada, Tom Brevoort, Axel Alonso, and Ralph Macchio, though not the Karate Kid. But that is apparently the guy's nickname around the office. It's just Karate Kid.
Yeah.
But he consulted all of them on the script. And so it's a well-known fact that they did a lot of improv for scenes.
Yeah.
But like when it came to like certain character traits and character like motivation and stuff, a lot of that came from these actual comic book writers.
Yeah.
As for candidates for the lead, he wanted unknown people. Jim Caviezel was one of them. I can't think. Sam Rockwell was kind of like the runner-up for the role. And he, like, everyone loved these other guys. And then when Robert Downey Jr. was thrown into the mix, Marvel Studios and Paramount, they were like, no. It took a lot of convincing from Favreau, but he's like, my job as a director is to show you why this is the best creative choice. And he's like, this guy is like, he embodies Tony Stark.
Yeah.
To quote him, the best and worst moments of Robert's life have been in the public eye, but he wanted Robert Downey Jr. pretty much from the start. He actually wanted him because of his past, which ironically was why nobody wanted Tony Stark or Robert Downey in that role. But it was that. And he also was in a film called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang that was directed by Shane Black, and then he actually worked with Robert Downey Jr. again in Iron Man 3 when he took over the helm of that one. But yeah, I reckon we should watch that one of these days.
Yeah.
but yeah, he wanted Downey from the start, and then Sam Rockwell plays the role of Justin Hammer in Iron Man 2. So be looking forward to that. Here's a fun segment. It's called Stuff I Learned While Researching. Favreau and RDJ both got a tour of SpaceX from none other than Elon Musk during the making of the film.
Wow.
And Robert Downey was like, yeah, this would be someone that Tony Stark would hang out with or go on a safari, have drinks with the shaman. Like, this would be the guy. So, yeah, that's a fun little tidbit for you. The Mandarin was supposed to be in the original film, as mentioned. The heads-up display was actually Favreau's idea, and the whole idea came from, like, all right, here's this CGI robot man running around and flying around on screen, and so he didn't want you to feel disconnected from Tony Stark, the actual human inside of it. Mm-hmm. So they did the little heads-up display, and that little detail has been exported into every other version of the character since. So
yeah,
good on him. The freezing at high altitudes, as mentioned, was a last minute addition. One of the writers that they hired back, that was his thing. Box office for this film. So on a budget of $140 million, they made $98 million or $98.6 million in the opening weekend, and domestically and internationally they made $585.8 million total. So this is obviously enough to warrant a sequel, and this was a pretty big hit for, like, kind of a just they were throwing whatever and seeing what stuck. But yeah, it paid off. I think when I was reading and researching numbers, RDJ got like $500,000 for this role. But part of his contract, from my understanding, is he gets like a percentage of all the other Marvel movies. So yeah, this one role kind of set him for life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sounds like it.
Is there anything that really stuck out to you in the film in terms of action, characters, plots, anything that you noticed, or something that you kind of carries on into later Marvel projects, might see something today?
Well, I guess we can start talking about the use of CGI in the film compared to how it's used later in later movies. Thing is a lot of Iron Man, a lot of things that you think are CGI are actually practical.
Yeah.
A lot of shots with the suit. The dogfight is, besides Iron Man himself, was all shot like in real life.
Yeah. They had what? Because it was like another plane filming other planes and like the clouds and everything.
Yeah.
They actually shot most of that and then just kind of threw him.
So yeah, the like special effects budget for Iron Man, I'm pretty sure was like really, really low.
Yeah.
Like, because they just, a lot of it was just practical effects. Trying to remember, because there's this really good YouTube video out of the Corridor Crew. They talk about the special effects of Iron Man. It was back around when, like, what movie was coming out at the time? It was one of the Marvel movies where everyone was pointing out how, like, terrible the CGI looked, and so they made a video on, like, Iron Man to talk about, like, how they could achieve really good looking effects back in the day compared to how terrible some of that stuff looks nowadays. How somehow their effects sometimes look worse today than they used to.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years ago now.
I think, especially like just seeing those early suits, like they actually feel like suits and not just kind of like a CGI mess.
Yeah.
I really, like I said, that the Mark III in particular just looks beautiful in every shot. So I did some research right now. It looks like the CGI for the standalone Iron Man films were around 100 to 120 million. I don't know if that's true for the first one.
Probably not, because the budget for the first Iron Man movie was less than that. Like the total budget was less than that, wasn't it?
No, the budget for the first Iron Man was like 140 million.
Yeah, but still, that would mean that the CGI budget would have been like
Most of the budget.
like 75-80% of
Yeah.
the total budget, which I do not think is true at all.
Well, supposedly, if that one shot cost 6 million, you never know.
Yeah.
But I did also find out that the average cost of registering for an Iron Man race can range from $650 to $1,000. So, in case we're considering about registering for an Iron Man, I guess that's what came up when I looked up the CGI budget for Iron Man.
I don't know. Do you like okay, I'm trying to remember everything that goes into an Iron Man.
Isn't it?
It's like biking. It's like a triathlon but with some other stuff too.
You bike, you swim, you run, and like really, it's just trying to kill yourself with extra steps, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, short, simple, and sweet. Not that. Anywho, let's move along. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think if I have any more thoughts about the movie Iron Man. As a plot, I really like how everything flows from one scene to the other.
Yeah.
A large part of that was the improv by Robert Downey Jr. Though apparently Gwyneth Paltrow hated like improv, she liked lines. But
And I feel like Gwyneth Paltrow could be a topic for a podcast on its own.
like the candle.
Just like, I don't know, her as a person, she's just very, I don't know if interesting is the right word.
Yeah.
She's a very, very peculiar individual. Pretty much starting a cult, pretty much.
Yeah.
And trying to sell like alternative medicine stuff to people. Just very, very weird individual.
I just remember the candle that she was doing where yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about the candle.
Yeah. Whenever I think Gwyneth Paltrow, it's like, oh yeah, Pepper Potts and the candle.
The candle.
Yeah. It's a thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, she got into a lot of weird stuff a while back. I don't know if she's still doing any of that.
I mean, it worked for RDJ's career.
Yeah.
So another fun thing about the Nick Fury cameo, I don't know why I remembered this, but one fun thing about Nick Fury and his cameo was it was done with the skeleton crew. Like nobody knew about it, and apparently in initial screenings they didn't even show it.
Yeah.
So it was leaked almost immediately.
Yeah.
But they were always wanting to set up something more, and in initial scripts and versions of that, they mentioned the X-Men and Spider-Man and the Hulk. They mentioned like Gamma Blast and stuff, but they couldn't use any of that because they didn't own the rights. And then in 2008, which I'm trying to remember the end credit scene for that, I'm pretty sure it's just Iron Man talking to General Ross. But I that was kind of the first time that they were like, okay, we're actually connecting movies together. And then, yeah, it's really weird to think how there was only a 4-year gap between the first Iron Man and the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why I felt like there was this major buildup, but really it was just like a short 4 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, because then when you look at the first Avengers to the last one, there was like a solid, what is it, 6 years, 7 years between Endgame and the first one. There's 3 years in between the first one and Age of Ultron, and then another 3 years for Okay, so I guess yeah, that's about right. I don't know. Just feels like way longer.
Yeah.
I remember when my dad actually brought home Iron Man as a person. He brought home Robert Downey Jr. in the suit and everything. Uh, we he most people watch this either in the theater or like a rented copy or on TV. No, my dad brought home a bootleg copy.
Really?
Yeah, it was something that like his coworker had given him. He was just like, "Oh yeah, it's this really great movie," and so you could see some guy getting up and grabbing some popcorn midway through. It's just this bootleg copy that somebody had in the theater, and that's how I experienced Iron Man. Throw that into the DVD player, and I'd watch that, Spider-Man 2, and Spaceballs as a kid.
Yeah. I didn't think DVDs were all that expensive. Were they?
No,
It would have been like, especially back then, it would have been like $8 to grab like a DVD.
yeah, but now in this economy, but yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was when it was still in theaters. But like that was how I watched this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had some very fond memories with this movie, and especially returning to it and just like I said, the recent decline of Marvel movies has been kind of just disappointing.
Yeah.
Like after watching the new Captain America, I was like, it's just refreshing to go back to these movies, and they're simple, they're grounded, like they're them thinking that the Mandarin would have been too ridiculous. It was kind of like refreshing to read, where I'm like, yeah, now they're at this point, they're just like, what can't we check into these things?
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's pretty not terrible.
Yeah. I'm excited to get into the rest of these movies. You're watching a lot of these movies that I haven't seen in such a long time. I'm pretty sure the last time I watched The Incredible Hulk was on an airplane.
Very nice.
On like one of the screens where they would just play movies.
I think that's our new segment. The last time that we watched this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell the last time I saw The Incredible Hulk next week, but I had various fond memories of this film of The Incredible Hulk. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to going back to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the show. Is there anything else that we should talk about? Any pressing matters?
I don't know.
Should we talk about politics?
I don't know. An idea that you had for the show before was to take kind of what we're watching and kind of apply that to some kind of moral or lesson or topic. A little bit away from the movie, just kind of in general.
Well, so next week, I think we'll dive down and we'll dive into that a little bit more because alcoholism.
Yeah,
but this
we
week,
have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, I'm an alcoholic.
Was
folks.
There's the cat.
I mean, yes, the cat is an alcoholic. Yeah, no, I don't know. I rarely ever have a drink. But
just don't look in our fridges, both of them,
or the liquor shelf.
or the liquor shelf.
You know, people are gonna think we're alcoholics now.
No, the beer has been in the fridges for like a month.
I have had all those.
It's not been stocked. It's not been stocked up. We've had the same beer in the fridges.
That is true. Since his trip to
in fact,
Arizona.
we need to maybe develop just a tiny bit of alcoholism, just so we can just get
get rid
through,
of it.
just to get rid of it, so they're not crowding up the fridges.
All right, I'll take a Yingling. This isn't sponsored, but if you want to,
but maybe that is a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
To always have beer in your fridge,
I
not
guess,
because you're buying more beer, but because you're not drinking it.
Yeah, like the liquor shelf. I've had most of those bottles for a year or more.
Yeah.
Except for like the bottle of amaretto and Soko.
Yeah. And the bottle of Screwball that I bought.
Oh yeah, and then You bought a bottle of Kraken too, yeah.
And Kraken.
That's
We need to actually like
Yeah,
start digging into that because I got a big bottle.
yeah. We should.
I got like the
Next week,
64-ounce bottle or whatever.
next week when we cover the Demon in the Bottle storyline that is Iron Man 2 and the attempt of covering that topic. But I mentioned a little bit earlier. Jon Favreau wanted to do like this self-discovery of Tony Stark, and I think they captured that pretty well. Just kind of seeing the initial change, and when he like just realizing that the world is a lot more complicated and not just black and white, but there's shades of gray. Like even him integrating some of the weapons into the suit, like that wasn't his initial like priority when he made the Mark II. It wasn't until the Mark III, and even that one, it's very bare bones compared to like some of the later suits.
Yeah. It's like he has the repulsors and then like the little like shoulder guns.
Yeah, he had some kind of like shoulder missiles.
Do they shoot bullets? I don't like they don't explode when they hit the people.
Yeah. Well, maybe they do, and they were just waiting for the people to like walk away, and then the second they walked away, their heads just exploded or something on the ground.
Yeah, I would like to see that deleted scene of like of that. That was when Tarantino. That's when Tarantino was in charge of the film.
Yeah, the Tarantino cut. Release the Tarantino cut. But yeah, I really liked that his main focus with all of the suits. They weren't really weaponized. It wasn't until the next one where I think he did think about them a little bit more strategically, and especially the Mark VII when he's literally just preparing for the Battle of New York.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that throughout the franchise is he does stop making weapons. Their suits of armor are not weapons. In Iron Man 3, especially when he has the Iron Legion, it's like Igor is used for lifting things, and some of them are for space, and some of them are for like sea, and like there's I can't remember which one it is, but it's like this green armor, and that one's for like scuba diving, and each one has different utilities and purposes for them.
Yeah.
And then the Mark 42, that's kind of just his like golden child, I guess, where that's supposed to be like the perfect pristine one. But yeah, that was something that was kind of really refreshing, was seeing that here's this Tony Stark who is a changed man and trying to be a better person, albeit there's some growth needed, but
yeah,
I feel like it was a step in the right direction.
It's like they definitely they I think it's a good thing that they didn't like complete his character arc in the first movie. No. They let room for growth for later movies.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel like a lot of new movies miss out on. It's like they complete their character arc at the end of the movie, and so it almost seems like by the next movie they're suddenly less of the character they were at the end of the last movie. And it's like, what happened? Like, why is he like kind of a worse person now? And then but it's so that they could have that character growth again. Yeah. And it's like,
what was the point?
Yeah, what was the point? Like, either have a different way for the character to grow, or don't
have it at all.
Don't have that character complete it in the last movie if you're planning on continuing the character story. Yeah,
because now that we're talking about that, I reckon we'll when we get to specifically the Captain America that trilogy and him in the Avengers films, there's a lot of growth from him in 1945, which in First Avenger really just starts his journey, and he doesn't completely complete his character arc until Endgame. But like with Sam Wilson, they gave him a lot to develop as a character throughout the films, and then it was like we get to what was it? Like Falcon and Winter Soldier, and they developed him a lot. And then in like Brave New World, it was just kind of like I'm Captain America now, and I don't know who I am, but I'm Captain America, but I don't know, and then I'm gonna fight the Hulk now. I don't know. I never, I was never sure who he was in that film.
Yeah.
I don't know. What?
Maybe.
What do you want?
The cat is being loud.
No one likes a complainer, Ozai.
Yeah, I don't think it's getting picked up on the mic. I think he's too far away.
We'll have to like boost the gain.
We'll just add cat sounds in post.
I will.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they went through the approach of like you can't fail a character growth, you can't fail a character arc if you don't have a character in the first place.
That is true. But you know, we're lucky that we're still in the golden age of MCU movies where where that wasn't a problem.
I'm fine stopping at like Endgame.
Yeah. Well, so the initial plan for this is we're going to go through phase 1 of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break and we're going to do something else. Fantastic Four is coming out this year, so
Yeah.
I reckon I will finally watch the Fantastic Four movies, and then we'll watch probably The Incredibles, because we'll need a good Fantastic Four movie after that.
Yeah. Well, let's just wait and see if the new one is going to be good before
That
we
is
start
true.
saying anything about good Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, because as far as I remember and as far as I've seen and know, because I haven't seen any of them all the way through. I've seen probably the most of Rise of the Silver Surfer, but from my understanding,
That's the only movie that I have any memory of.
yeah, like, I genuinely don't remember the first one, though I'm pretty sure I've seen bits and
And it's
pieces of
particularly the scene when the Silver Surfer comes. It's like there's so like I don't care about the characters of the Fantastic Four so much that the only thing that I remember from a Fantastic Four movie is when the one like big non-Fantastic Four character shows up.
I just remember they were like swapping powers or something for some reason.
Yeah.
And like Doctor Doom was back, and like Galactus was like a cosmic dust or something. I don't know. We'll cover that eventually. But yeah, if there's any franchise that you, the audio listener, the viewer, the people,
Audience?
yes. English is hard. I started stuttering ever since the I started stuttering within the last year. I don't know why it started. Well, I do know why it started, but I started stuttering. But yeah, let us know what you, the audience, want us to watch for your viewing pleasure or listening pleasure. That this is starting to get weird. Let us know what you want us to watch, and we'll watch it, and we'll cover it, and we'll give our thoughts on it. We'll give our 2 cents. Not that it's worth much. Ayo, dad joke moment. But yeah, any last thoughts? Anything you want to get out there before I?
Watch Iron Man. Don't watch Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah. Should we come up with a rating system for these movies?
That was it was a 7 out of 8 Ozai's.
7 out of 8 Ozai's? Why 8?
I don't know, because all of the like YouTube reviewed things have their own dumb and unnecessary like rating format.
So we're doing 8 because it's uncomfortable.
Pretty much. Like that was
Okay.
the thought. I was like, what's the like without going too crazy, like what was the weirdest thing I could
It was that or a number like 7,472.
Yeah, I can remember that.
Yeah.
8's an easier number
So
to remember.
8. All right. So 7 out of 8 Ozai's. Yeah, I'd give it a 7 out of 8 Ozai's. I'm intrigued. What is going to be the movie that we're like, oh, that's an 8 out of 8 Ozai's? Paddington 2.
Paddington 2 probably.
We watched Paddington recently, and that was just the most wholesome movie. I think that's what being happy felt like.
Yeah. I'm excited for Paddington 2. Well, I mean, it's out. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah. We'll probably cover the Paddington franchise.
Yeah, in fact, like it's so good that if we watch it in the middle of like our review of phase 1 of Marvel of the MCU, we'll probably just cut into that with Paddington 2 at some point.
You're just listening to us talk about Thor, and we're like, yeah, that scene with him and Loki, and then we interrupt this broadcasting for a review of Paddington 2.
It's the first 10. Once we get to like the first kind of bad MCU movie, we'll talk about it for like the first 10 minutes, and then the rest will just be Paddington 2.
All right. Well, until then, folks, I feel like this has been productive. We laughed, we cried, but always made merry and well. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for joining us, and we shall see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
My head is a roundabout without an exit, yeah.